Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. In the previous class, we discussed about the balance of payment. What is basically balance of payment? This is lecture number 6 of International Finance. We discussed about the definition of balance of payment, that it is basically the accounting record of the transactions of one country and the rest of the world. Today we are going to discuss, then we discussed a lot about the balance of payment, so I'm not going to repeat. Today we are going to discuss the components of the balance of payment. Basically, there are three components of the balance of payment. The first one, it is current account, then there is capital and financial account, and the third one, it is official settlement account. So first we are going to discuss the current account, that what is basically the current account. It summarizes the flow of funds between one specified country and all other countries due to the purchase of goods or services, the provision of income on financial assets, or the unilateral current transfers. What does it mean? That is, it summarizes the flow of funds, the money which is going out of the country or the money which is coming into the country. We are talking about that. But this flow of fund is because of, number one, the purchase of goods or services. The money which is going out of the country or the money which is coming into the country because of what? Because of the purchase of goods or services. The second thing, the provision of income on financial assets. What does it mean? Sometimes we call it basically portfolio investment. That is, sometimes Afghani people, they are investing money in the stock exchanges or in the financial markets of foreign countries. So suppose we purchase shares and bonds in New York Stock Exchange. Suppose a person from Afghanistan, he invests money and he purchases bonds and shares in New York Stock Exchange. So from there they will receive income on that shares and on that bonds. So we call it income on financial assets. Or unilateral current transfer. Unilateral current transfers mean government grants. Mean sometimes the government of Afghanistan give grants to other countries, or sometimes other countries they give grants to the government of Afghanistan. So it is coming in current account. So we are talking about three things. Number one is goods and services. Goods and services. Suppose we are importing goods or we are exporting goods. So money for imports, money is going out of the country. This is imports, and for imports, money is going out of the country. And for export of goods, money is coming into the country. So we are talking about the flow of funds which is because of goods and services. So for exports, see, this money is coming into the country, and for these imports, money is going out of the country. So these are flow of funds because of goods and services. The second thing, it is factor income payment. Now, factor income payment, what does it mean? I told you that suppose this is New York Stock Exchange, this is USA. Now some people from Afghanistan, they have excess money and they invest money in New York Stock Exchange. They purchase bonds and shares, stocks. Now see, for bonds, they will receive interest. And for shares, the people who are sitting in Afghanistan, they will receive dividends and capital gains. You know about dividends and capital gains. I'm not going to explain it. So this is what? This is factor income payment. This is basically interest and dividend. This is basically factor income payment. The income that they are receiving on the investments in foreign country, we call it factor income payment. Now sometimes, suppose there is stock exchange in Afghanistan, there is financial market in Afghanistan. So US people, they invest money here, they purchase bonds, they purchase shares. So for bonds, they will receive what? Interest. They will receive interest. And for shares, they will receive what? They will receive dividends and capital gains. So in this case, money is going out of Afghanistan. So this factor income payment, this is also coming in current account. So we are talking about this factor income. And the third thing that we discussed, it is government grants, that is unilateral current transfer. The government of Afghanistan, they are giving grants to other countries. So in this case, money is going out of Afghanistan. And other countries, if they are giving grants to the government of Afghanistan, so in this case, money is coming into the country. So in current account, three things are coming. The first thing is purchase of goods and services, the flow of funds, which is because of the purchase of goods and services. The second thing is provision of income on financial assets, that is factor income payment. That is basically the investment made by the people of Afghanistan in other countries, or other countries people, they invest money in Afghanistan stock market. So in this case, on that investments, they will receive dividends and interest. So money, funds, they are flowing into the country and they are flowing out of the country. And the third thing is unilateral current transfers. A current account deficit suggests a greater outflow of funds from the specified country for its current transaction. So if a current account is in deficit, so it suggests that more money is going out of the country, greater outflow of funds from specified country for its current transaction. If current account shows a surplus, so it shows that more funds are coming into Afghanistan. The current account is commonly used to assess the balance of trade. But keep in mind, out of these three items, the biggest item, it is this, goods and services. So it is basically showing balance of trade. This is basically import and export. This is basically what? Trade. So it is showing balance. This is also called, that's why it is called balance of trade, short. Because the biggest item in this is goods and services. The bonds and stocks, it is not that much big component. Same is the case of unilateral current transfer, that is grants. It is also not a big item. So the biggest item, it is basically what? It is basically goods and services. That's why we call it balance of trade. Now in this, the current account is commonly used to assess the balance of trade, which is simply the difference between the merchandise exports and merchandise imports. I told you that the biggest item is basically the imports and exports, so that's why we call it balance of trade. So the current account is commonly used to assess the balance of trade. It is basically telling us about the balance of trade, that money is going out of the country or coming into the country because of the purchase of goods and services. Now these are basically the components. We already discussed these components. The first one is payments for merchandise and services. That is, merchandise exports and imports represents tangible products. Merchandise are basically tangible products. Goods are transported between countries. Services exports and imports represents tourism and other services. The biggest item in services, it is tourism. People from other country, they are coming to visit Afghanistan, so they are spending money here. And if the people of Afghanistan, they are going to other countries, so they are spending money in those countries. So that is basically, that is coming in services. So there is flow of fund because of this tourism item. And other services, banking services are coming, the other education services, the engineers of Afghanistan, they are working outside the country, the doctors of Afghanistan, the teachers of Afghanistan, they are working in other countries, the bankers of Afghanistan, they are working in other countries. Other countries, bankers, teachers, engineers, they are working in Afghanistan, so that is coming in a service. The difference, so service is basically an intangible item. The difference between total exports and imports is referred to as balance of trade, and the difference of the merchandise and services imports and export, it is basically called the balance of trade, because it is trade. It is basically trade. So the first item of the current account is payments for merchandise and services. The second item is factor income payment, that represents income, interest and dividend payments received by investors on foreign investment in financial asset. Financial assets are basically bonds and shares, securities basically, simply. So we already discussed about that. That factor income payment is what we already discussed in the previous slide. Transfer payments, so we already discussed about transfer payment, that it is basically represent aid, grants and gifts from one country to another country. One country, he is giving grants, or he is giving gifts, or they are giving aids. So suppose, take an example of suppose Ashraf Ghani, Dr. Saib, he is going to USA, so the government, they are giving some gifts. So these gifts, it has a money value. So these gifts are coming into the country. Similarly, if some US official he's coming to Afghanistan, so the government is giving some gifts, so it is going out of the country, so it is also coming in this third item. We call it transfer payment. Why it is called transfer payment? Because we are not making any effort. This is basically free. If something is free, we call it transfer payment. See, aid, it is free. Grants, it is free. And gifts, it is free. Means we are not making any effort, but we are receiving money, we are receiving funds. So we call it transfer payment. So current account consists of these three items: payment for merchandise and services, factor income payments, and transfer payments. The next component, okay, this is basically diagram, not diagram, some figures are given to explain this balance of payment. We will explain it. Summary of US international transactions for the year of 2000 in millions of dollars. This is basically in millions of dollars. Now see this, they are showing the current account. So see, first, export of goods and services and income receipt, because for exports you are receiving income, so this is income receipts. So exports of goods and services, income receipts, so they receive income of this much, 141 lakh 14,18,568 million dollars. In this, then goods balance of payment basis, for goods we received 7,72,210. export of goods we received this much money. For services we received 2,93,490. And factor income means the investment in securities, we received 3,52,866. Now, imports of goods and services and income payments. For imports, money is going out of the country. So the total figure is 18,09,099. So in this, goods balance of payment means for goods we paid 12,24,470. It is showing negative. Why? Because we are making payment, so it is a negative item. Services, so we are making payment of 2,17,024. And income payment, we paid the American companies, they paid 3,67,658. So total becomes this plus this plus this, it becomes 18,09,099. This is the sum of this one, for goods, for services, and for income payment. So this is, they received 14,18,568 and they paid 18,09,099. And unilateral current transfers, the net difference, they showed the net difference, it is 5,04,136, means they made a payment of this much. So now the total balance of on current account, it is, see the difference between these two, it is coming in negative, and then we will add this 5 lakh this, so we are getting 4,44,667. It is showing a negative item, so it means that more money is going out of the country because of the current account. The difference between these two, and then add this. Maybe there will be some mistake, but overall it will be negative. So this is basically the current account. So the current account, it is showing what a negative figure, which is basically a deficit item, means more funds are flowing out of the country than coming into the country. So inshallah, in the next class, then the next session, then we will discuss capital and financial account, and then we will discuss the official settlement account. So inshallah, for today it is enough. Inshallah, in the next class we'll discuss about the capital account. Okay, assalamu alaikum.